What's going on, guys? Lewis here with Precision Camera in Austin, Texas, and today we're going to be talking about the differences and similarities between the Panasonic S1, S1R, and S1H. We're shooting here with Alyssa here in a little bit, but first we're going to sit down and talk about these cameras individually. I'm bringing Todd in later too to talk about the S1H. So let's start talking about what all three of these cameras have in common. They are all full frame L-mount cameras. They're all incredibly rugged and are splash proof, dust proof, crush proof, and freeze proof up to 14 degrees. They all have 14 stops of dynamic range and all do 4K video. They all have a 5-stop in-body image stabilization that works great across the board. And they all have the autofocus eye detect, face detect, body detect, and the animal detection autofocus as well. And remember, with that L-mount, you're going to be able to use native Lumix L-mount lenses as well as lenses from Sigma's L-mount line and the Leica line. So let's talk about the S1R. The S1R is going to be the stills focused camera out of the three. It's going to have a 47 megapixel sensor and can do a high res mode of 187 megapixels. You will need to put it on the tripod for it to adjust and do its thing, but the images are great, especially if you know you're going to blow them up and make huge prints out of them. You're going to get a lot of detail. If you're a landscape shooter, portrait shooter, or commercial photographer, you know that you're going to need very versatile images that sometimes need to be cropped into. The S1R is going to do just that. If you do a little bit of video, you do get 4K. You get that at 24, at 30, and 60p, but you are going to have a 15-minute record time. It's primarily a stills focused camera. It does really well with that, but if you shoot a little bit of video, you're going to have that option too. So moving over slightly to the S1, we're going to talk about some S1 and S1R similarities. They both share the same chassis and same body and will take the same memory card slot. So you're going to get one SD and one XQD, and with the latest firmware, you'll be able to do CF Express as well. They both also, on the latest firmware, do ProPhoto compatibility, so you'll be able to shoot with those big studio strobes. So let's move on to the S1. The S1 has a 24 megapixel sensor with no low pass filter and is full frame just like the other guys. It's going to have 4K video at 24, 30, and 60, but you don't get a recording limit. You also do get Vlog, which is a pretty good, if you do both, if you're a still shooter and a videographer right down the middle, this is the way you should go. You get burst mode at 6 frames per second or 9 frames per second in single autofocus, and the high res mode on this guy will do 96 megapixel images. And now to talk about the S1H is a much smarter and better looking guy than I am. I'm gonna pass this over to Todd.
All right, so let's talk about the S1H. Now the S1H is your video heavy of the three. It's going to have 24 megapixels just like the S1 does. This is going to have a low pass filter. And if you're wondering what the low pass filter is for, that is going to help you with moire. When you're shooting on the S1, you do not have a low pass filter, but you can make corrections for the moire like in Lightroom or something. Also, you'll notice that the screen on the back of this camera does a full flip out and face forward so talent can see it, or if you want to do some vlogging, you can also do that as well. The other two cameras do not have that feature. We have 6K in this camera. It's in a 3:2 aspect ratio and at 24 frames a second. And then we go down to 5.7K, but we have that at 24 and 30. And then we go to 4K and we have our standard 24, 30, and 60, and so on. One of the things to note about this camera also is we've got Vlog. Now we have Vlog in the S1, as Lewis was mentioning. It's not a Vlog Lite, which you find in the GH5 series. So this is a full Vlog. We also have V-Gamut in both of these cameras as well, which is just a broader color space than what you would find in other cameras. We're gonna have 2 SD card slots in this camera. And because we're shooting in 6K internal, I highly recommend that you actually go out and get you a UHS-2 SD cards to be able to use in the S1H. Also, in the S1H, we have 2 additional settings for 4K. We have, first of all, an anamorphic setting if you want to use anamorphic lenses on this particular camera, but then we also have what's called the Cinema 4K. So standard 4K is a 16:9, and Cinema 4K is a 17:9 as far as the aspect ratio. So going back to the comment we made earlier, this is a very video-centric camera. A lot of people refer to this as like the little brother to the VariCam series, and definitely is compatible with that, especially if you're going to be matching footage.
So final thoughts, if you are strictly a still shooter and maybe do video a little bit, the S1R is going to be great. If you're perfectly down the middle and do equal video and photo. The S1 will give you the capabilities of both. The stills are great, and you get all the video options you could ever need. And if you're a serious video shooter, the S1H will not steer you wrong, and you still get the ability to shoot great high quality images. It is a little bulkier, but you'll get the same ones as the S1. So subscribe to our channel, tune in for some more videos, follow us at Precision Camera, and I'll see you guys on the next one.